Hello and welcome back to another day of math with Miss Murthy. Today's lesson is lesson 4.7. Absolute value and distance begins on page 245 of your math book. And this is the last lesson in this module. As usual, pause and do the warm-up problems on your own, as well as the check problems. There are 4 check problems in this lesson. And also do the talk about it and think about it. They're very, very important. Right. So in this lesson, we're going to be using the absolute value to find the distance between 2 points on the coordinate plane. These practices, these are very important. They form the basis of what we'll be using in this lesson. Okay. Now we can find the horizontal distance between 2 points with the same y coordinate on the coordinate plane by using coordinates and absolute value. For example, if you were to take 2 points, if they have the same y coordinate, that is, both of them are the same distance from the x-axis, then we can find the distance between these two using the coordinates and absolute value. So when 2 points are in the same quadrant and they have the same y coordinate, we're going to subtract the absolute values of the coordinates to find the distance between the 2 points. So if you look at these, the absolute value of these 2 points, let's say these 2 points are in the first quadrant. I'm going to kind of zoom in on them here. Over here, the absolute value of this is some particular value. The absolute value of this would be another value. Now the distance between these 2 points, which is this, you can see is the distance, which is the difference of these two absolute values. So let's take a look at this. In this example, we're looking at the negative values where both of our coordinates are in the third quadrant. So let's consider the points -5, -4 and -1, -4. Okay, they have the same y coordinates. What's our y coordinate? In this case, -4. Okay. So we find the absolute value of each x coordinate. Absolute value of -1 is 1. Over here, an absolute value of -5 is 5. When we subtract the 2, we can see the distance. Let's also see it's 1, 2, 3, and 4 units. So in 2 points, now when 2 points are in different quadrants, and they have the same y coordinate, we are going to add the absolute values of the x coordinates to find the distance between the 2 points. So what that would look like would be, let's take a look at this example, right? This is the absolute value of one coordinate, x coordinate of one point. This is the absolute value of the x coordinate of the other point. So the distance between the two is this distance that it takes to get to 0, and then the additional distance. So if we consider the points -4, 2 and 1, 2, they have the same y coordinates, which is 2. So we find the absolute value of each coordinate. Absolute value of -4 is 4, absolute value of 1 is 1, and we add the absolute values in this case. So the distance between the 2 points is 5 units. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 units. So let's take a look at example 1. Find the horizontal distance between 2 points. Now the 2 points given are u and v. So always, like I've said before, pay careful attention to the scale of the units. Okay. In this case, as you can see, each square in the grid is half a unit. So I'm first going to look at what are my coordinates. So again, like I said, consider the scale. So our ordered pair for u is 1/2 and -1/2, and v is 2, -1/2. Now you can see that the y coordinate is the same for both of them. And since the y coordinates are the same, we find the absolute value of each x coordinate, which is 1/2 and 2. And since they're in the same quadrant, we subtract the 2. We subtract the absolute values. So 2 minus 1/2 gives me 1/2. That's 1/2, 1, 1/2 units. Pause and do the check problem on your own. Now example 2, we're going to find the horizontal distance between 2 points, this time when the 2 points are in 2 different quadrants. So again, look at the scale, that will help us determine what the coordinates are. In this case, the coordinates for E is negative 0.75, comma, negative 0.25, and for F it's 0.25, comma, negative 0.25. You can see the y coordinates are the same. So absolute value of the x coordinate in this case is absolute value is 0.75 and this absolute value is 0.25. So I'm now going to add the two absolute values because they're in different quadrants. That gives me 1 unit. So if I look at this, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. When I look at my scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, that is 1 unit. And that's just what we saw here. Do the check problem on your own. Alright, now just like we found horizontal distance, we can find the vertical distance between 2 points on the coordinate plane which have the same x coordinates. So if I have 2 points that are here, as long as the two have the same x coordinates, I can find the distance just the same way. I look at the y coordinate in this case, the distance between the two y coordinates. Okay. Now when just like this says, when 2 points are in the same quadrant, just like we did for the x, and they have the same x coordinate, subtract the absolute values of the y coordinates to find the distance. So if my 2 points are 3, negative 1 and 3, negative 5, they have the same x coordinate which is 3. The absolute value of the y coordinates are 1 and 5. So we subtract the 2 to give us the distance of 4. That's 1 unit, 2, 3 and 4 units. Now just like what we saw for the x coordinates, when 2 points are in different quadrants and they have the same x coordinate, we add the absolute values of the y coordinates to find the distance between the 2 points. So take for example, if one of my points is here and the other point is here, I'm going to look at what is the distance over here and the distance over here, and then to get the total distance I add the 2. So let's consider the points 2, 1 and 2, negative 4. They have the same x coordinate which is 2. So we find the absolute value of the y coordinates. In this case this is 1 and 4. We're going to add the 2 to give us a distance of 5. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 units. Let's take a look at example 3. Find the vertical distance between D, which is negative 1, negative half, and C, which is negative 1, negative 2. Now the x coordinates are negative and the y coordinates are negative, which means our points are in third quadrant. They're both in the same quadrant. X coordinates are the same. So we find the absolute value of each of the y coordinates. The absolute value of negative 2 is 2. Absolute value of negative half is half. And we subtract the 2 because they are in the same quadrant. So 2 minus half, 1.5. The 2 points are 1.5 units apart. Do the check problem on your own. Alright, now did you struggle with any of the concepts in this example, in this check? Think about it, take a moment. How do you feel when you struggle with these math concepts? What steps do you think you can take to understand those concepts better? Alright, let's take a quick look at example 4. To find the vertical distance between the points 1, 0.5 and 1, negative 0.5. Now in this case, again, you see the two have the same signs for the x coordinate as well as the two y coordinates have the same. In this case, sorry, the two y coordinates have different signs, which means our points are in different quadrants. Since the x coordinates are the same, to find the distance, each point from the we find the distance, each point is from the x-axis. To do that, we find the absolute value. So absolute value of 0.5 is 5. Absolute value of negative 0.5 is also 0.5. Oops, I think I made a mistake here. Absolute value of 0.5 is 0.5. Okay. Right. Now, since they're in different quadrants, we're going to add the absolute values. So 0.5 plus 0.5 gives me 1. So the 2 points are 1 unit apart. Pause and do the check problem on your own. Again, do you think we can use the methods described in this lesson to find the distance between 2 points on a number line? Think about it. Alright, that's all I had for you today. We will do the apply problem together in class. Catch you tomorrow. Ciao.